Hey there, comic book fans. I'm John Andersen, and I just watched Season 3, Episode 2 of The Flash, and it was pretty good. Definitely still feeling the repercussions from Flashpoint last episode, which if you haven't seen my thoughts on last episode, you can click right here or down in the description below. Be sure to check that out when you get a chance. But if you haven't seen this episode yet, keep in mind I'm going to be going through key plot points from the episode. So here is your spoiler warning. And there it goes. Now, as Harrison Wells has said many times throughout the series, the more you mess with time travel, the more repercussions there will be. I like how in the first half of this episode, when Barry's trying to figure out the changes in this third timeline, they play it up for comedy, which is a good tour de form for the Flash show as a series, as well as a good juxtaposition of the gleeful and almost ignorant nature that we saw Barry in the Flashpoint timeline. Obviously, Barry doesn't like these changes and wants to go back a fourth time and reset the timeline once again, but is stopped by the Earth 3 Jake Eric that we saw at the end of Season 2. Now, I've raved a lot on this channel about the chemistry between John Wesley Shipp and Grant Gustin, but this is the first time that I actually didn't buy into it. As Jake Eric is explaining the repercussions of changing the timeline, Barry comes off very dismissive, which is a character trait that I'm not a fan of. So back in the present timeline, Barry goes to talk to Felicity about these changes, as he doesn't want to bring it up to his friends that might cause further changes. We don't see any changes to the Arrow universe, except that in this timeline, John Diggle never had his daughter Sarah, but instead had his son John Diggle Jr., which actually explains why we see Connor Hawke in that Legends of Tomorrow episode. But in regards to the changes in the Flash universe, we see that Joe and Iris have a faulty relationship, which was teased at the end of last episode, which is because Joe never told Iris about her dying mother, which is definitely a play on a storyline that we saw last season. Then we see that Cisco's no longer his sarcastic, humorous self because of the fact that his brother Dante was killed in a tragic accident. And it's assumed that Cisco's asked Barry multiple times to go back and save his brother, which Barry refuses, and it comes off very ironic that Barry was able to go back and save his mother when he couldn't go back and save Cisco's brother. And we have the addition of Julian Albert, played by Tom Felton, aka Draco Malfoy, who is the CSI assistant to Barry Allen, who obviously has some beef with him, which definitely opens the possibility of him being the season villain Alchemy. But at this point, I think it'd be too easy if he was the villain, but he's definitely a high suspect. And speaking of Dr. Alchemy, it seems that he has sorcerer-esque powers that doesn't have a correlation to the Speed Force or the particle accelerator, which explains how Alchemy is going to be the catalyst for the Freak of the Week style that the Flash is known for. In Season 1, we had the particle accelerator explosion. In Season 2, we had Zoom setting rogues through the breaches. And now we have Alchemy able to create metahumans from the Flashpoint timeline. And one of those rogues is Edward Claris, aka the Rival, who we saw last episode, and we could potentially see him again given what Alchemy has planned for that character. I also like how Cisco saves Barry in what's teased to be his Vibe costume, as well as we see that in this timeline, Caitlin Snow has her Killer Frost powers, which definitely opens up the possibility for a more physical Team Flash, similar to what we saw in Arrow. So that's my thoughts on Season 3, Episode 2 of The Flash. Let me know down in the comments what you guys thought of the episode, and click right here to see my thoughts on Season 3, Episode 4 of Gotham, and click over here to see my thoughts on Season 2, Episode 1 of Supergirl. And if you guys like this video, be sure to share and subscribe. Follow me on Facebook at John Ryan Anderson, or on Instagram and Twitter at The Comic Look. And remember guys, as always, comics do deserve a second look.